Telepathy. In the following conversation, you are going to hear some new words. Read and listen to them. Make sure you know what they mean. Sensory. Phenomena. Figure out. Bend, bending. Guessing. Invest. Reliable. Ready? Now, read the questions on the following page. Read them carefully before listening to the conversation. In today's program Debate, we will have two experts discussing the existence of telepathy as a paranormal activity. Telepathy is defined as the transmission of thoughts or feelings from one person to another without using any known sensory channel or physical interaction. Dr. John Thompson is Professor of Physics at university. He claims that telepathy cannot be explained by modern physics simply because it does not exist. Dr. Susan Barry runs a foundation in the United States which was established to look at the credibility of paranormal phenomena. Welcome to our program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Professor Thompson, what is your position regarding telepathy?
I honestly think there is no firm evidence for the existence of telepathy as some kind of paranormal activity. I think physics can in fact explain what many people call the paranormal. It's just a matter of having the knowledge and enough resources to be able to investigate these phenomena scientifically.
Dr. Barry, Susan, what is your view?
Well, I think Professor Thompson's approach is mainly based on the traditional notion that science and physics can explain everything in the way it has always been done. I think we need to be more open-minded and figure out how the mind works beyond physics. I don't think science takes the mind properly into account.
Are you saying that the mind is so powerful that not even physics can explain some of the things the mind can do?
Yes,
I think this is a crazy idea. However powerful the mind is, everything will eventually need to be explained by physics, because this is just the way nature works, and the way human nature has evolved over thousands of years.
However, at the moment, science has not been able to give a full explanation for a whole range of phenomena that would fall under the name of telepathy. And I think it is unfair and not very scientific to say that anything that physics cannot explain can only be attributed to coincidence.
Well, there is the case of this book entitled Thoughts Through Space, published by Sherman and Wilkins in 1942. The authors explained a number of experiments with the aim of providing evidence for the existence of telepathy.
Yes, I read the book. I know about the experiment. Sherman was in New York and Wilkins was in the Arctic. At the end of each day, they both visualized a mental image of the events they had experienced during the day and then wrote them down. And they also wrote down any thought impressions they had. When they compared their diaries, they found that about 75% of the thought impressions they had coincided. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing indeed. But in the book they say they had demonstrated that it was possible to send and receive thought impressions from the mind of one person to another. I don't think that is possible. I think most of it was guessing and coincidence.
Well, I think scientists should try to explain such coincidence.
Well, in fact, I believe physics does not need to explain the paranormal, because there's nothing to explain. I mean, the question really is whether there is any scientific evidence for the existence of telepathy, or for any of the other similar phenomena. Until its existence is scientifically demonstrated, we cannot say telepathy exists.
But these phenomena have been observed again and again. I think scientists should be concerned about them, don't you? They should be interested in investigating them.
No, not if we haven't got any phenomena to explain. If anyone could demonstrate that there is evidence for telepathy, or evidence that one can bend a piece of metal through the power of the mind, or anything like that, then institutions like universities would invest time and money to investigate telepathy. But we haven't got any evidence of such things.
Well, what about Uri Geller's show and his metal bending, for example? I suppose people would say that the evidence is in the eyes of the observer. So if you observe metal spoons bend before your eyes, then you have to believe it.
I don't think so. I actually think you can be in a show and see things happen before your eyes that you can't explain. But this does not mean that you need a revision of the laws of physics in order to explain them. Really, the one thing I think you should do is ask the artist in the show to explain what the trick was. But of course, if anyone asked artists to do that, they would not do it. I think this was the case with Uri Geller and his spoon bending.
Professor Thompson, is there no evidence that would satisfy a scientist?
Let me make this point. There is actually a big difference between a show and a scientific experiment. If someone wants to demonstrate that telepathy exists, they should go to a scientific laboratory to properly test it and get reliable results.
I see Professor Thompson as somebody who is very difficult to convince. I wouldn't mind taking part in any experiment to test the existence of telepathy, and he could watch that experiment. But I agree that an experiment on telepathy may be very difficult to do scientifically. We would probably need a conscious observer to make the observation, a person with a conscious mind rather than a robot or a machine.
Well, sadly we must leave the argument here. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.